House of the Dragon Season 2 is now over, with another 2 years of waiting for a new season being now upon us. With that being said, I've seen a bit of a mixed reaction to certain episodes, to the finale, and to the season as a whole. I can understand arguments like the first season being more consistent and having a better pace, with the second season being a bit slower. Calling this a setup season is completely fair, but going as far as to call it boring or downright bad is a bit of a stretch. I enjoyed Season 2, with it being clear that the lack of action this season will be addressed in Season 3, with a lot of action being just around the corner. Let's first address the adaptation aspect of this show. Its story is based on the book Fire and Blood. The book is written from the perspective of an historian within the world of A Song of Ice and Fire, Archmaester Gildain. Some accounts of the events within the book come from different sources and are, sometimes, incompatible. This means that the show is being presented in a completely different way from the book, since we are witnessing the actual events and not trying to make out what is true and what is false, or what's more likely to have happened. The writers have to pick and choose what they either perceive to be the truth or what they want to be true, besides having to fill in the blanks left by the source material. This poses clear challenges and is not a simple and straightforward adaptation, so they can't just stick to the source material, because they have to add a lot more to make the story flow better and make more sense, because we are watching a show and not reading a book from an historian talking about people and events from long ago, besides all other challenges one goes through when adapting a book. I believe all of this should be taken into consideration when judging the final result. Now let's address the pacing problem. I think I finally cracked the code and realized what the main issue is. For this, I need to take you back to the heyday of Game of Thrones, somewhere in the first half of the 2010s. At that time, we were getting 10 episodes a season every year without exception. Every year, we were getting better and better episodes of arguably the greatest show of all time, with no signs of slowing down. That's the problem now. We are not getting 10 episodes a year anymore. We got 8 episodes in 2 years. We waited 2 years since season 1 and we got a season of build-up, of setup. Before, we'd get 10 episodes of one of the greatest shows of all time every single year. Now we get either 10 or 8 episodes every 2 years. And we just had a season of setting up the pieces on the board for what's to come. I think the goodwill of the fans isn't there right now, and the criticism is louder because we have to wait a lot longer for a lot less. I think the quality of the writing and the acting and the music and the action is all still there, but a lot of people expected more action, and since that didn't happen and now they have to wait another 2 years for more, well, you can see where I'm going with this. This isn't just a problem on this show. Every show now makes us wait longer to get less content, and I believe that is affecting the way we consume media. Put simply, it's harder to hype up a show when you have to wait multiple years between seasons every single time. Once a new season comes out, you'll probably forget about most of what happened. So you either have to rewatch everything, go on YouTube to watch a recap, or go in dry and hope you remember enough to keep up with what's happening in the moment. This takes away a lot from the excitement of keeping up with the show. The engagement is weaker and people won't be as motivated to keep up as much. Many will probably just wait for the entire season to come out instead of watching weekly, the Netflix effect. Now, I understand that TV production is tough and this might make the workload more manageable for everyone working on it, but it kills the momentum of a show if it needs a season like this, a season of setting up for what's to come next in the story. If you don't come out swinging every time, the fans will be unhappy and they might not engage with it anymore, and that's the risk that TV productions are taking now. Let's see if this affects season 3 of this show. Let's now talk about what matters, the story. I thought it was pretty good. A bit slow, yes, but very solid and a great foundation for what's to come. Many things happened, but let's start with the Greens, who started the season much stronger than they ended it. They had a land army, they had the most powerful dragon alive, Vhagar, they had King's Landing, and were more united than the Blacks, with Otto Hightower leading their efforts. Unfortunately for the Greens, Aegon replaced Otto with Chris and Cole as Hand of the King early on. Aegon screwed up once again when he showed up at Rook's Rest, with Aemond making a move for the throne by attacking him while also striking Rhaenys. Aemond was able to defeat Rhaenys and her dragon while also incapacitating Aegon and killing his dragon. His plan worked, becoming Prince Regent in Aegon's absence while he recovers from his wounds. Aemond takes a hold of the small council, taking Alicent out of it and controlling the remaining members. By the end of the season, Aegon is fleeing with Larys, Alicent plans to do the same with Olenna, Otto is being held captive somewhere, and Cole is kind of traumatized from the battle at Rook's Rest and the destruction dragons are capable of. On the other hand, Tywin Lannister was able to get a fleet in Essos, which means they finally have a way to face the Sea Snake's fleet. So, the Greens are kind of in shambles at this point, but they still have Vhagar and now also have a fleet, so it's not all doom and gloom for them. For the Blacks, it really went the other way around, starting out very weak and growing stronger throughout the season. Their biggest advantages were their fleet and the amount of dragons they had available. With that being said, they didn't have a land army. Rhaenyra was grieving the loss of her child, and the small council was constantly doubting her. Also, Daemon decided to wander off to raise an army in Harrenhal without any supervision. Surely that wouldn't cause any problems for anyone. Rhaenyra risked her life to go talk to Alicent, trying to prevent an all-out war. It didn't work, but at least Alicent didn't get her immediately killed. She came back from this trip to King's Landing knowing war was now inevitable, which made every decision easier than before. Rhaenys ends up dying in Rook's Rest while fighting Aegon and Aemond in an incredible dragon fight, where she probably would have won against either of them if it was a one-on-one fight. Eve Best was fantastic in the show, and Rhaenys will be missed. Corlys became End of the Queen, and Rhaenyra started looking for a solution to get new riders for her dragons. First, she looked for nobles with any connection to Targaryen blood, but after that failed, she decided to expand that search to people within the Smallfolk, at Mysaria's recommendation, claiming they would be more loyal than the nobles. This means Targaryen bastards, dragon seeds, from King's Landing, were given the chance of a lifetime to get burned and eaten alive by dragons. So all of those random characters we kept up with throughout the season had something in common, they were all bastards with Valyrian blood. There's Hulf, the dude who will definitely betray the Blacks, and Hugh Hammer, the dude I hope doesn't betray them. Both of them Targaryen bastards. The other two are Adam and Alan, Adam being the one who claimed the dragon, both being bastards of Corlys Velaryon. Thanks to Jace, they also got support from the Starks and the Freys, gathering a massive land army, the biggest weakness they had at the start of the season. But because they are big armies and have to travel quite a large distance, we didn't get to see anything more from them this season. So, they end the season having even more dragons, a massive land army marching towards the south, they still have their fleet, although it will be challenged next season, and Daemon pledged his allegiance to Rhaenyra, with another land army raised in the Riverlands to go along with it. Oh, and Alicent went to visit Rhaenyra and tell her she will open the gates and let her in to claim the throne, just a cherry on top of this massive lead cake. Might have a problem when it comes to the fact Aegon escaped, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. All in all, if they throw this lead and somehow lose this war, they should be remembered as the biggest idiots of all time. This is called foreshadowing. Maybe. We'll see. Let's now talk about Daemon, because I believe his arc is the point of divergence between the fans. Some might find it too slow or even boring, but this was probably my favorite part of the season. I really enjoyed his arc and the characters we meet because of it, like Simon Strong and Alice Rivers, but I can definitely understand why some people might not have enjoyed it, since it went on for the entire season and it slowed down episodes that many already considered slow. In Harrenhal, he has to confront himself rather than anything else, facing all of his fears, all the things he runs away from, ignores, avoids, and bottles up inside. He also has to deal with the many times he failed the people he loved, like Rhaenyra, Viserys, even his own mom, who he never truly got to meet. And let's just say that part was very confusing at first, and becomes even more confusing once you understand what's happening. Like, wow. He eventually stops running and confronts everything, especially his desire to rule, to become king, alongside all the times he felt that he failed the people he loved and just ran away. The same thing he's doing at this point, running from Rhaenyra. He ends the season being given visions by the Weirwood Tree, where, amongst other things, he sees Daenerys with her dragons and the White Walkers. So now he knows even more than Rhaenyra when it comes to the future. These visions are the conclusion of his growth this season, showing us that he's now ready to become a leader and take on the mantle of responsibility, being a different man from the one who arrived at Harrenhal. He pledged his allegiance to Rhaenyra and concluded his arc as a more mature person, not running away anymore and ready to play his part in this story. He pretty much went from main character syndrome to realizing he's not even near the climax of the overarching story. He's now a humble man, or humbler at the very least. Let's now talk more about these visions Daemon has, because I see them as having two layers. The first layer is what the Weirwood Tree, or Blood Raven, or whatever magic entity you believe in, wants to show Daemon. The second layer is what the writers are trying to tell us with these visions. For the first one, I see these visions as sort of guidance for Daemon, meaning they don't necessarily show him the truth or the whole truth. He sees things he doesn't really or fully understand, at least for the most part, with him seeing Bloodraven, someone who wasn't even born at this time, but I would imagine this whole thing was his doing, communicating from the future, interacting with the past, like we see Bran doing in Game of Thrones. He also sees the White Walkers, sure, easy to understand what that means, but he sees Rhaenyra on the throne, which may or may not happen. We'll have to see how the story unfolds in the third season. And he also sees Daenerys with her small dragons, right when they hatched, another very interesting point. But for that, let's talk about the second layer. The second layer is about the writer's intent with these visions. And for that, the whole Daenerys part is certainly a contentious point. You can understand it as her being considered the Azor Ahai, which she has a claim to, or had, before Game of Thrones ended, and she clearly wasn't it. But you can also see it as her being part of the whole that was able to defeat the Night King, or that she's the last true Targaryen, being born to a full Targaryen couple, this being brothers, since Jon Snow is half Stark, half Targaryen. Whatever it may be, the intentions of showing Daenerys there are left to the interpretation of the viewer, and we have many points of possibility. That's really the only point where I think the writer's intentions are less clear and more open to interpretation. The other things seem pretty straightforward and are more focused towards Daemon than the audience. The last thing he sees on his visions is Elena, giving us confirmation that she clearly had something going on. She had always felt off or distant, but now we know she has a powerful connection to the magic of this world, and can see and interact with things that most people have no idea of. We ended up seeing her confront Daemon right after communicating with Daemon, telling both that their fates are sealed, obviously in different ways. So she must know both of their fates and probably of everyone in her family and of herself as well. Very interesting stuff to keep your eyes on for next season. There's many other things related to the story I didn't talk about here, like the baby assassination early on and other stuff, but this was mainly to talk about the issues many fans had with this season, and my perspective on that and on the big events in the story, especially in the last episode. Just to go off on a tangent here, but who were the fans that wanted to see the small child being murdered on screen? Who are you and who hurt you? Why would you want to see such a thing? I think it was very well handled, and I think that sometimes less is more, and this was one of those situations where your mind can make up what happened off camera. It would be quite distasteful to show such a small child go through something like that. A grown man, sure, we see that all the time, but not a kid, especially that young. Either putting the child actor through a scene like that or abusing on CGI just for that would be unnecessary and downright weird and gross. Okay, tangent over. I truly enjoyed this season, and I think it's possible to enjoy something while at the same time being able to understand and empathize with people who are not happy with how the season unfolded. It's fair to say that it was good, while at the same time acknowledging the slow pace and lack of action present. It was a setup season that had less episodes than the previous one, but we still had to wait 2 years for it. To really put this whole time situation into perspective, Game of Thrones released 40 episodes from 2011 to 2014, while House of the Dragon only has 18 episodes released to date, and with the next season only coming out in 2026, hopefully, that means that it will have released less than half of the episodes Game of Thrones released in the same amount of time. Now, I know it's not a straight comparison, these are different projects and very different adaptations, but the reality is we are getting less quantity for the same or inferior quality. The consumer isn't always right, but right now it does feel like we are waiting too long for way less and are expected to like it just as much. But at the end of the day, if the people working on these shows are actually not getting overworked anymore, then I can cope with it. But if the conditions are the same and there's no difference other than making us wait longer for no good reason, now that's a problem. I'm just hoping that Season 3 will be a classified banger. At the very least there will be more action, which I think all will enjoy. FYI, I really enjoyed this season and didn't find the pace to be that bad, but I wanted to show the perspective of the many fans that did. Also, shout out to PhilosophyTube's Abigail Thorne, who plays a character in the show. Excited to see more of her character next season. Anyway, that's about it. See ya.